All right, we're with Brandon, who I know as TextURL.
Mm-hmm.
Textural or TextURL?
Both.
From School of Humans.
Mm-hmm.
What is School of Humans?
School of Humans is a startup. We're a branded entertainment company in Atlanta, Georgia. We are a group of filmmakers, writers, and brand strategists that all came together and decided to try to look at the way brands can deliver entertainment to the masses in a different way. Sort of subvert the sort of traditional media model and try to make brand integration real in films as opposed to just being product placements.
So what does that mean for a brand? What's the opportunity if I'm a marketer for a brand?
Well, so from our perspective, what we do is we create TV shows and films and other online entertainment, alternate reality games, Twitter plays, all narrative-based pieces of entertainment, and we then don't produce them until we get a brand partner, because we think it's important for a brand partner to be there up front and then believably integrated into the narrative. So, for example, if you look at the last 8 episodes of Mad Men. Connie Hilton has been embedded in the narrative, and that was actually something that the Hilton brand approached Matt Weiner to write into the script. Those are the sorts of brand integrations that we think are believable, interesting, and in our mind more effective than just buying ads around an already existing entertainment property.
So do you have a catalog of content that is there waiting for potential brands that might be appropriate, or are you creating something and then looking for the brand that's appropriate, or a little bit of both?
Yes, and we always create stuff with a brand in mind. So we have a stable of properties that are at the sort of pre-pitch production stage that we're currently seeking brand partners for. But in addition, we're also working with digital agencies to create things from the ground up for brands. So it's kind of a little bit of both.
So other people have tried this.
Yes.
What's different now?
I really think that that the social channel is the big difference. Right now online you have massive communities of people who are gathering around things that they're passionate about. And they're also gathering around brands and passionate around brands, but they're gathering around things that they think are interesting. And I think that there's a real opportunity there to connect the brand into that conversation. But when I look at social media, I feel like brands tend to look at it as a conversation, and it needs to be more than that. So you have a PE. I mean, brands tend to look at social media as a channel for PR, as a channel for crisis communications, or for customer service. But the majority of what I tweet about and what a lot of other people tweet about is entertaining content. And there's a real gap there right now where, I think it's only going to take 1 or 2 really courageous brands to actually start to produce that content and get that out there into the social space.
A killer piece of content will immediately get distributed throughout the internet because it connects with people.
Right.
Do you start with something that's just going to kick ass and bring an audience to it, or do you think it's more important to get something out into as many channels as possible?
Well, I think it's important to have a really great idea and then be able to distribute it far and wide. I think where most branded entertainment fail, if you look at, and I'm sorry, Budweiser, but if you look at something like Bud TV, or other pieces that have been very brand entertainment, properties that are considered brand entertainment, they tend to be brand first and entertainment second. And that's I think why they end up sucking a little bit. And so from our perspective, it's about creating something awesome first, finding something that's actually going to connect with an audience, and then distributing the heck out of it until it spreads. The creative director of Pope recently did a talk, and he talked about the idea of of objects that have their own gravity, and that's what Poke is really sort of in the business of doing, is creating objects that have their gravity. And we believe that, and we think that story can have its own gravity. I mean, people religiously follow things like Lost, but they don't talk or think about the commercials that are supporting Lost production. And if you actually go back to the beginning of television, brands were actually own the show, right? So there would be like, a brand presenting this show. And I think that it's time, or what's actually happening is in the social media channel, I think gives that brand an opportunity to develop an audience around a show, develop a conversation around a property in which they're thoroughly integrated. And then if that show takes off and then spreads to traditional media channels, they're integrated into the story. We don't need a fake brewery that Laverne and Shirley work at. It can be a real brewery. And in some ways, I think that, and you find gamers tend to actually welcome brands into their environments because it makes the game more believable. I think that the same is true for entertainment.
So in a way, what you guys are doing could be the future of television. And I know a lot of people in our industry are all about like killing television. Television's over. It's all the internet. But I'm looking at like what you guys are doing as potentially like R&D for traditional media and broadcast. So that something could start there and then grow such an audience that is appropriate for an NBC show.
Yeah, I mean, social media is not free, right? Or it shouldn't be free. A lot of brands treat it that way. I mean, from my perspective, if I was a brand, I would take a portion of my traditional media dollars, and I would devote it to farming entertainment properties that my brand is thoroughly integrated in. Because then at that point, you're supporting traditional media as well, but you're actually developing content that your audience values. So
I'm a marketer. I'm interested in getting involved. How do I get in touch? What do I do?
You can go to our website, and there's a email address there. You can follow us on Twitter. We're interested in talking with brands who might want to see what we have off the shelf that could work for them. We have things in particular categories. And we're also interested in talking with brands that are forward-thinking and want us to develop show ideas directly for them.
And the URL?
Schoolofhumans.com.
And your Twitter handle?
I tweet as both School of Humans, at School of Humans, and Textural, TEXTURL.
Awesome. Thanks.
Great. Thanks a lot.